The DYATLOV Pass Incident, February 26, 1959, Northern Ural Mountains, Soviet Union. The search party had been hiking for hours through waist-deep snow when they saw it. A tent, alone on the barren mountainside. Mikhail Sharavin, a student and experienced climber, was the first to reach it. What he found would haunt him for the rest of his life. The tent had been cut open. From the inside, long, deliberate slashes through the canvas, as if someone had been desperate to escape. But escape from what? Sharavin called out to the others. Together, they approached cautiously, their breath forming clouds in the bitter cold. The temperature was nearly 30 degrees below zero. Inside the tent, everything was still there. Backpacks, supplies, food. Most disturbing of all, shoes, boots, winter coats. 9 experienced hikers had fled this tent into the deadly Siberian night, wearing almost nothing. But where were they? 6 days earlier, Igor Dyatlov was 23 years old and one of the most experienced hikers in the Ural Polytechnic Institute. When he assembled his team for a winter expedition to Ural Mountains, he chose only the best. 7 men and 2 women, all expert skiers and mountaineers. This was meant to be a challenging but routine trek. They'd done dozens like it before. On January 27, 1959, the group departed by train, then truck, then finally on skis into the wilderness. Their plan was simple: reach Ural Mountain, plant a flag, and return. The round trip should take about 2 weeks. Before they left, Dyatlov promised to send a telegram as soon as they reached the nearest settlement on their return. He estimated this would be around February 12th. February 12th came and went. No telegram. The university waited. Dyatlov was known to be reliable, but winter expeditions often ran late. They gave it a few more days. By February 20th, families were demanding action. On February 26th, the first search party departed. The search. Sharavin stared at the slashed tent, his mind racing. 9 people had been here. 9 people had cut their way out and run into the night, leaving everything behind. The search party began looking for tracks in the snow. They didn't have to look far. Footprints led away from the tent, down the slope toward the tree line nearly a mile away. But these weren't normal footprints. Most were barefoot. Some wore only socks. A few had just one boot. They were running, someone said quietly. The tracks showed no signs of stumbling or confusion. They were purposeful, direct. Whatever had made them flee, they'd run in an organized group, following each other down the mountain. The search party followed the footprints through the deepening snow. At the tree line, they found the first bodies, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. The 2 men lay beneath a large cedar tree, so close to each other they were almost touching. Both were dead. Both were nearly naked, wearing only their underwear. Their hands were badly burned. Near them, the searchers found the remains of a small fire. Just embers now, long cold. Branches had been broken from the cedar tree up to 15 feet high, as if someone had desperately tried to climb it. But why? What had they been looking for? What had they been running from? The 2 bodies were carefully documented, photographed. Then the search expanded. If 2 were here, where were the other 7? Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin. Over the next few hours, 3 more bodies were discovered on the slope between the cedar tree and the tent. They had been trying to return. Igor Dyatlov, the expedition leader, was found face up in the snow, his hands raised as if trying to push something away. Zinaida Kolmogorova was several hundred yards away, also trying to climb back up the slope. Her hands were frozen, fingers curled into claws. Rustem Slobodin had made it even further. He'd almost reached the tent before he collapsed. All three were inadequately dressed. All three had died of hypothermia. But Rustem had something else. A fractured skull. Not enough to kill him immediately, but a serious injury nonetheless. The search party now had 5 bodies. 4 were still missing. The snow began to fall again, heavy and thick. The search was called off until spring, May 4th, 1959. When the snow finally melted, the search resumed. A probe team worked methodically through the area, pushing metal rods deep into the remaining snowdrifts. On May 4th, one of the rods hit something soft. They began to dig. What they found was so disturbing that several members of the recovery team had to step away. 4 bodies, buried under 12 feet of snow in a ravine about 200 feet from the cedar tree. But these bodies were different, very different. Lyudmila Dubinina, Semyon Zolotaryov, Alexander Kolovatov, and Nikolai Thibault Brignol. The 4 had been better dressed than the others. They wore clothes that had been cut from the 2 Yuris found at the cedar tree, the first victims. Someone had taken clothes from the dead to help the living. They'd been trying to survive. But their injuries told a different story. Lyudmila Dubinina was missing her tongue. Her eyes were gone. Her mouth was filled with blood. Nikolai Thibault Brignol had catastrophic skull damage. Semyon Zolotaryov and Alexander Kolovatov both had severe chest trauma, broken ribs, internal injuries. The medical examiner's report was chilling. The nature of the injuries is similar to those sustained in a high-speed car accident. The force required to cause this damage would be extreme. Yet there are no external wounds, no soft tissue damage. The injuries are entirely internal. It was as if they'd been subjected to an enormous pressure. Something had crushed their chests with incredible force, but left no marks on their skin. What could do that? The investigation. The Soviet authorities launched a formal investigation. They interviewed witnesses, examined the evidence, constructed timelines. Nothing made sense. The facts. The tent had been cut from the inside. Whatever frightened them, they chose to cut their way out rather than use the entrance. They fled without proper clothing in lethal conditions. Experienced mountaineers who knew that meant certain death. Some had severe internal injuries with no external trauma. The medical examiner compared it to a blast wave or extreme force. Traces of radiation were found on some of the clothing, not enough to be lethal, but measurable. Unusual for a hiking expedition. Several witnesses reported seeing bright orange spheres in the sky around the time of the incident. Multiple sightings, multiple witnesses. The final photograph on one of the recovered cameras showed a strange light in the night sky. Blurred, unclear, but definitely there. The official conclusion. On May 28, 1959, the Soviet government closed the case. The official cause of death. A compelling natural force. No further explanation was given. The area was declared off-limits for 3 years. All documents related to the case were classified. Epilogue. Today, the location is known as DYATLOV Pass, named after the expedition leader. Hikers still visit it. Some report strange feelings, a sense of being watched, unexplained lights in the sky. Most don't stay long. The mountain keeps its secrets. And whatever happened on February 1st, 1959, happened so quickly and so terrifyingly that 9 experienced mountaineers chose to run into certain death rather than face it. Ask yourself, what could be so terrifying that freezing to death seems like the better option? What was in that tent? What did they see? What made them run? We may never know. But somewhere in the frozen peaks of the Ural Mountains, the answer remains. Waiting. March 31st, 1922, Hinterkaifeck Farm, Bavaria, Germany. 6 months earlier, the farmhand quit. Said the farm was haunted. Footsteps in the attic. voices when no one was there. No one believed him. The Gruber family, Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and her 2 children, needed a new farmhand. On March 31st, a new maid named Maria Baumgartner arrived from Munich. It was her last day alive, 6 days before. Andreas Gruber found footprints in the snow. They led from the forest to his barn, but there were no footprints leading away. Someone had entered. Someone was still inside. Andreas searched the barn with a pitchfork. Every stall, every corner, nothing. The footprints didn't lie. Someone had been there. That night, lying in bed, he heard footsteps in the attic above his bedroom. Slow, deliberate, he climbed the stairs, opened the attic door. Empty, just dust and old furniture. The footsteps stopped the moment he opened the door. 4 days before. The newspaper vanished. Andreas had seen it delivered, but when he went to get it an hour later, gone. That afternoon, he found a pickaxe moved in the barn. He always kept it on a specific hook. Now it leaned against the opposite wall. Someone was in his barn, touching his tools. That night, everyone heard the footsteps in the attic, 3 days before. Victoria saw a silhouette moving past the kitchen window. Everyone was outside. She ran inside, empty. That night, 7-year-old Cecilia woke screaming. There was a man by my bed, watching me. They found nothing, but the girl refused to sleep alone after that. 2 days before, Andreas's keys disappeared. He'd had them the night before. Now, gone. Someone took them, he said. Someone was in this house. That afternoon, he found the missing newspaper in the attic. It had been read, pages out of order, folded carelessly. Someone had been living in his attic the whole time, 1 day before. The new maid was arriving tomorrow, Maria Baumgartner from Munich. That night, Andreas sat up with his rifle. If someone comes, he told his family, I'll be ready. The night was silent, waiting. 4 days later, April 4th, 1922. Neighbors noticed no smoke from the chimney. No one at school, no sign of life. They went to check. What they found would become one of Germany's most infamous unsolved murders, the discovery. In the barn, Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and 7-year-old Cecilia, all killed with a pickaxe, skulls crushed. The same pickaxe Andreas had noticed moved days earlier. In the house, 2-year-old Joseph, murdered in his crib. And Maria, the new maid, killed in her room within hours of arriving. 6 people, all dead. But here's the horror. The killer stayed for days after. The chimney had smoke on April 1st. The livestock had been fed, the cows milked. Someone lived in that house with 6 corpses, doing daily chores, eating their food, sleeping in their beds. For days, the evidence. All mirrors covered with cloth, all curtains drawn. The killer didn't want to be seen. Not from outside, not in their own reflection. The investigation. Over 100 suspects. No arrests, no answers. Theories ranged from robbery, but nothing was stolen, to Victoria's supposedly dead husband returning. None explained the methodical horror of someone living with the bodies. In 2007, police students reviewed the case with modern forensics. Conclusion: unsolvable. The final mystery. Someone had been in that house for possibly weeks, watching, learning, preparing. Andreas found the footprints, heard the sounds, discovered the newspaper. He knew. But he waited for proof, and waiting cost them everything. The killer got away with it. 6 people murdered, no one caught. And somewhere, someone died or still lives, knowing they were never found. The farm was demolished in 1923. But the questions remain. Who made footprints that led to the barn but not away? Who lived in the attic? And why did they stay for days after, calmly feeding animals while 6 bodies lay nearby? We'll never know. The disappearance of Brandon Swanson, May 14, 2008, rural Minnesota. At 12:30 a.m., 19-year-old Brandon Swanson's car slid into a ditch on a rural Minnesota road. He wasn't hurt. The car wasn't badly damaged. He just needed help getting out. He called his parents. That phone call lasted 47 minutes. Brandon Swanson was never seen again. The night before, Brandon had been celebrating. He'd just finished his first year at Minnesota West Community and Technical College. His friends had thrown a small party in Canby, Minnesota, about 30 miles from his hometown of Marshall. Around midnight, Brandon decided to head home. He knew the rural roads well. He'd driven them his whole life. But somewhere between Canby and Marshall, he took a wrong turn. At 12:30 a.m., his car went into a ditch. Brandon assessed the situation. The car was stuck, but he was fine. No injuries. He pulled out his cell phone and called his parents. His father, Brian, answered. 12:30 a.m. "Dad, I went into a ditch." Brian Swanson could hear the frustration in his son's voice, but not panic. This was a minor inconvenience, not an emergency. "Are you okay?" Brian asked. "Yeah, I'm fine. Car's stuck, though. Can you come get me?" "Of course. Where are you?" "I'm on the gravel road between Lind and Marshall, near the Lind Water Tower." Brian knew the area, about 25 minutes from their house. "Stay with the car. We'll be there soon." Brandon agreed. Brian woke up his wife, Annette, and they got in their truck. The drive should have been straightforward, but when they arrived at the location Brandon described, they found nothing. No car, no Brandon, nothing. 12:35 a.m. Brian called Brandon back. "We're here. Where are you?" "I can see you guys," Brandon said. "I'm flashing my headlights. Can you see them?" Brian looked around. Darkness in every direction. "No, we don't see anything." "That's weird. I can see your lights." This didn't make sense. If Brandon could see them, they should be able to see him, unless... "Brandon, are you sure you're near Lind?" "Yeah, I'm positive. I passed through Lind on my way home." But he hadn't. What Brandon didn't know, what he couldn't have known in the dark, was that he'd gotten turned around. He wasn't near Lind at all. He was 25 miles in the opposite direction, 12:40 a.m. Brian and Annette drove around the area, searching. Brandon stayed on the phone, describing what he could see. "There's fields all around me, gravel road. I definitely went through Lind." But the landscape Brandon described could have been anywhere in rural Minnesota. Miles and miles of identical farmland, gravel roads, and fields. "Okay," Brian said, trying to stay calm. "Start walking toward the lights you see. Walk toward what you think is Lind. We'll drive around and hopefully we'll meet up." "All right." They could hear Brandon start walking, his breathing steady at first, the crunch of gravel under his feet. "I'm walking along the road," Brandon said. "There's fields on both sides." "Okay, keep going. Keep talking to us." For the next 10 minutes, Brandon walked. His parents drove the back roads between Lind and Marshall, hoping to spot their son. They never did. 12:50 a.m. "I think I might have passed through Porter, not Lind," Brandon said suddenly. Porter, a small town in the opposite direction. If he was right, that explained why they couldn't find each other. "Okay," Brian said. "If you're near Porter, head toward the lights of Marshall. We'll drive toward Porter and meet you." Brandon adjusted his route, kept walking. His parents turned their truck around, heading south toward Porter instead. Brandon's footsteps continued, steady, rhythmic. He was walking through farmland now, he told them, had left the gravel road to cut through a field. "Are you sure that's safe?" Annette asked. "Maybe stay on the road." "It's fine, Mom. This is faster. I can see the lights of Marshall. I'm heading right toward them." He sounded confident. Tired, but confident. His parents drove faster. 1 a.m. "I'm coming up to some sort of fence or something," Brandon said. His breathing was heavier now. He'd been walking for half an hour. "What kind of fence?" "I don't know. Wire fence, maybe. Hold on." They heard rustling. Brandon climbing over or through something. "Okay, I'm through. I think there's water here, like a creek or something." Water? Brian didn't like this. The Yellow Medicine River ran through that area. If Brandon was near the river... "Yeah, I can hear running water. I'm going to have to cross it, I think." "Brandon, be careful. Don't go in the water if it looks deep." "It's fine. I can see a way across. Just give me a second." They heard his footsteps change, squelching now, like mud, then splashing, small splashes like he was crossing a shallow stream. "Okay, I'm across," Brandon said. "My feet are wet, but I'm good." "How much further do you think you have?" Annette asked. "I don't know. Maybe another mile? I can still see the lights." "Another mile? Another 20 minutes of walking." His parents kept driving, kept searching. The roads were empty at this hour, just darkness and the occasional farmhouse light in the distance. Where was their son? 1:10 a.m. "I think I'm getting close," Brandon said. "The lights look closer." "We're near Porter now," Brian told him. "We still don't see you." "That's so weird. I swear I can see..." "Wait." He stopped walking. They could hear it, the sudden silence, the change in his breathing. "What is it?" Brian asked. "I thought I saw..." "Never mind. It's nothing." "What did you see?" "Just for a second I thought I saw someone in the field, but it's probably just a tree or something. It's dark." A chill ran down Annette's spine. "Brandon, maybe you should stay on the road. Don't cut through any more fields." "Mom, I'm fine. I'm almost there. I can see buildings now. I think I'm coming up to the edge of town." His voice sounded relieved. He was close. "Okay," Brian said. "We're going to drive into Porter. Flash your phone light when you see us." "Will do." Brandon kept walking. They could hear his footsteps, faster now, eager to be done with this miserable night. 1:17 a.m. "Okay, I'm at the edge of the field," Brandon said. "I can see a fence and then it looks like a road or driveway. I'm almost..." He stopped mid-sentence. "Brandon?" Brian said. Silence. "Brandon, what's wrong?" Then they heard it. 2 words. The last words Brandon Swanson ever said. "Oh shit." The line went dead. The search. Brian immediately called back. It rang and rang. No answer. He called again. Voicemail again. Voicemail. They drove to Porter, searching frantically. Called Brandon's phone repeatedly. Nothing. At 6:30 a.m., they reported him missing. The investigation. Search and rescue teams arrived that morning. They used Brandon's last known cell phone ping to narrow down the search area. He hadn't been near Lind at all. He'd been near Taunton, Minnesota, a tiny town 25 miles in the opposite direction from where his parents had been searching. His car was found in a ditch near Taunton, exactly where he'd said it would be. Keys in the ignition, no signs of struggle. But Brandon was nowhere near the car. His phone records showed he'd walked over 2 miles from his vehicle, heading northeast through farmland. Search dogs were brought in. They tracked Brandon's scent from the car through fields to the Yellow Medicine River. At the riverbank, the dogs lost the scent. The search area. Volunteers searched for weeks. Helicopters with thermal imaging flew over the area. Divers searched the Yellow Medicine River. Nothing. No body, no phone, no trace of Brandon Swanson. How does a 19-year-old man vanish in the middle of a phone call with his parents?